Thor Ragnarok is directed by Taika Waititi and it stars Chris Hemsworth, Tom Hiddleston, Cate Blanchett, Mark Ruffalo, and Jeff Goldblum. And in this review, I'm going to keep it completely spoiler-free, so if you have not seen the movie yet, you are safe here. So if you've seen the trailers for this movie, you pretty much know what it's about. Hela, the goddess of death, has returned and has pretty much banished Thor and Loki from Asgard as she goes and takes over Asgard. Thor and Loki are sent to this planet called Sakaar. It's basically a trash planet, or that's what I call it. And there's this big gladiator arena where Thor meets the Hulk, and they have to team up and escape this place and go save Asgard. Now, I'm going to keep this review as simple as possible so that I don't spoil anything, and I'm only going to talk about my positives and negatives and then overall grade. And starting with the positives, this movie is definitely fun. It is a fun ride. I had a ball with it. It was fun. It was funny. There were parts that I laughed out loud. So the humor is really great. It's really strong. And yeah, I just had a really fun time watching this movie. Also, the action in this movie is incredible. The CGI is also incredible. It's just, again, it's a really fun movie. The action helps with that. The CGI just pulls you in. I love all the new settings in this movie, having it being set on Sakaar instead of Earth and Asgard only. They're exploring new realms, as they call it in this movie, but they're exploring new planets, and it's fun, and it's got a very Guardians of the Galaxy type of feel to it. And I both loved it and I didn't like it at the same time. And I'll get to more of that in my negatives. Cate Blanchett as the villain in this movie, playing Hela, the goddess of death, she was actually really good. I wouldn't say she's the best villain because I think it's pretty much agreed upon that Loki so far is the best villain that we've had. But she's up there. Without having gone into full detail about what I liked and didn't like about the Marvel villains so far, I would place her maybe number 4 or 5. She does pretty good. She's menacing, and what she does in her fight scenes and action scenes, it's really cool to watch. And the only bad thing is her helmet thing. I didn't like that, but Cate Blanchett delivers a pretty strong performance in this movie. I mean, it's Cate Blanchett, so what did we expect? Tessa Thompson's character was definitely a welcome addition to this movie. While she brings in some humor, she also brings in some more serious parts. And I actually really did enjoy her character and the relationships she has with other characters. So, yeah, very welcome addition. I did like the idea of bringing Doctor Strange into this movie. I love the fact that they're combining characters. And I absolutely love the nods to previous movies or coexisting movies in the Marvel universe. I just love how they connect it all. They talk about events from Avengers Age of Ultron, and even the other Thor movies. So I like that they bring that in just to basically remind the audience, like, hey, this all happened, and we're acknowledging that and accepting that, even though some of those movies or some of those parts, those plot points, might have not been so great, they still happened, and we're going to accept it and move on. That's what I liked about it, because nobody really liked Thor: The Dark World. As far as I know, I didn't like it that much. But they do acknowledge that that movie happened. And I actually really enjoyed that aspect of it. Another big positive for this movie is the music. I loved the music. It had this kind of synthesizer 80s type of feel to it, but it was really fun. I loved the music. I might actually go out and buy the soundtrack to this movie. It was that good. So yeah, they give you the feeling of the movie in the trailer. A lot of trailers can be misleading with the theme of the trailer, and the movie doesn't quite match up to that. Just like Rogue One, where they had some misleading shots where the TIE fighter just comes up while Jyn Erso's walking to the edge of the platform. That never happens in the movie. This movie has similar parts from the trailers. When things happen, it may not happen the way that it happens in the trailer. That's all I can say without spoiling anything. One of my biggest positives for this movie is the Thor versus Hulk fight scene, because this is something that we were told and shown that was going to happen in this movie in all the trailers, and it's a little disappointing, but it was still very exciting, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was very exciting, very entertaining. There's some comedy in it, and that's perfectly fine because it's friends fighting. But yeah, it's definitely a fun fight scene. And that's all I can say without spoiling anything. So now we get to the negatives portion of this review. And I've got to say there are probably too many to talk about, and a lot of them would go into spoiler territory, so I'm going to keep it as simple as possible. I'm going to start with the comedy. While there were parts that I laughed out loud, I thought it was too much comedy. This movie suffers from the same thing that Guardians of the Galaxy 2 suffered from. Too much comedy and not enough seriousness. And while I can agree that, these movies don't need to always be serious, they need to be fun, they need to be more lighthearted. Yeah, but what Avengers and Avengers Age of Ultron did was it kept the serious tone of it. There were serious implications in this movie, but it still managed to have some comedic moments. But during the action scenes, for the most part, yeah, there were some comedic moments in the action scenes in both Avengers movies. But they still maintained that this is still an action scene and we still have to take it seriously, maybe with a few funny moments in it. This one, I felt like it was focused too much on the comedy to where, they built up this action and then something funny happens. It's like, ha ha ha, okay. Oh, okay, well, let's go back into the action now. It pulled me out. And then it's like, okay, come back in to the action, and it didn't quite work that well. However, it was shot beautifully, and I love all the action scenes. They're so fun. Also, when a serious moment that should be taken very seriously happens, you don't take it very seriously. You just kind of accept it and move on. It's like, okay, well, that happened. I guess I'll just go on because I'm pretty sure there's going to be a joke in here sometime. And that might be because most of it was a little too CGI dependent and it was just too fast moving. And you didn't have enough time to really absorb what just happened, and it keeps moving. Now, the biggest negative that I have for this movie is very detrimental to the grade that I'm going to give it, and that is that there is no consistency in this movie. Yes, from beginning to end in this movie, yes, there's consistency within characters and tone. But from previous installments and characters, they've taken it completely different, okay? Hulk, for instance. Hulk, if you've seen the trailers, they show it. Hulk speaks in this movie, and he says he has conversations. And that's fine, but that's not how Hulk was in previous movies. He never really talked. He only said a couple words at most. And you know what? I get it. They needed Hulk to talk. And it made it more fun and funny, but Hulk never really spoke in other movies. So for that to be a big part of the movie, that was kind of it was distracting to me. And also the fact that, none of the other Thor movies were really lighthearted. Okay, the first Thor movie was pretty serious. The second Thor movie had universe-ending apocalypse setting, so it was supposed to be really, really serious. And if there was some stupid humor in it, and that's why we didn't really like Thor: The Dark World. But this one, I felt it should have been much more serious, because this is the last major Avengers character movie. Yes, we have Black Panther coming out before Avengers Infinity War, but this one is Thor. He's an original Avenger, and I think that it should have been much more serious leading up to Avengers Infinity War, because Infinity War is what all these movies have been leading up to since 2008 with Iron Man. They set it up right there. And for this movie to not be taken seriously and just be, let's just have fun and joke around, it doesn't work. And again, I gotta say it, in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, while it was way too jokey and a lot of the comedy undercut the serious tones of the movie, when certain things happen, like Yondu's character dying, I almost cried during that scene. There was comedy around that scene, not in the scene, but very close to that scene. But I still almost cried during that scene. So I just felt like this movie needed more seriousness and less lightheartedness and comedy. And I don't know, it needed it. Jeff Goldblum's character, he plays the Grand Master. He's basically in charge of Sakaar, or at least he's like in the capital of Sakaar. And basically he runs the gladiator matches that Hulk and Thor fight in. So, you know, his character is important to the plot, but he's not that great. Jeff Goldblum, I don't know, he's not the greatest actor, and he wasn't even like that funny. There were some parts that were funny, but it's just, I felt like he was trying not to laugh as an actor and really struggling to remember his lines sometimes. So that kind of just pulled me out of the movie. Overall, I really enjoyed this movie. It's fun, it's funny, it's very entertaining, but the fact is it's just too funny. It doesn't take itself seriously, and it's just, there's no consistency from previous movies. And I really wanted, I wanted to like this movie. Coming home, I just kind of sat there, I was like, man, I really wanted to like this movie, but I don't know if I did. And that might be my fault for raising my expectations a little too high. But you know what? It's a Marvel movie. It's still awesome, and I still really, really liked it. But those negatives that I have still are a little too strong for me to give it an A rating, so I have to give Thor Ragnarok a B+. And like I said, I really wanted to give it a higher grade. This is one of those movies that I would really like to see again, to do a further analysis and a review of this movie, but I don't know if I'll be able to see it before we do our spoiler review, which we will be filming on Saturday. So be on the lookout for that video. And what did you guys think of this movie? Did you like it, love it, or hate it? Let me know in the comments below without spoiling anything, because this is a spoiler-free review and I don't want to ruin the movie for anybody. So let's just keep it spoiler-free. Just give overall general thoughts on the movie in the comments below. So if you like this video, be sure to give it a big ol' thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and make sure you hit that bell icon next to the subscribe button so you can be notified of when we upload new content. And like I said earlier, be on the lookout for our spoiler review. We're going to hopefully film it on Saturday, and I don't know when I'll be able to edit it and upload it, hopefully later that day, but we will see. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.